Heyo, Stoic here. Hey, welcome to the Bedrock Guide. Today we're going to be doing a small Guardian farm review. Let's do it. So I've taken a look at 7 different unique farms for Minecraft Bedrock, and I thought they looked all pretty good. So let's take a look at this review process. We're going to see if we can go AFK at this farm and get all the XP from these Guardians, which have a lot of XP. How much loot are we going to pull in, and what is our block to loot ratio? I mean, how many blocks are we going to need to get in order to get all this great loot? So there's all kinds of great farms here, all kinds of great content creators. So I hope you can check them all out. Maybe you'll find one that makes the best fit for your world or your expertise. So yeah, without further ado, let's go to it. All right, here is our first one. This one is by JCPlays, and this one couldn't get any simpler. We are using 1 spawn point for this farm, and we have a trident killer with a bubble column. That's it. That's the farm. And yeah, it works. It works just fine, and it pulls in the Guardians. You can see them trying to float up right now. They do get stuck on occasion, and I think that's what hurts the rates overall. At the bottom, you want to make sure that you've got additional blocks at the northwest corner of the bubble column. Otherwise, the Guardians will jump out and they will ruin your rates overall. I was able to pull in about 14.5 stacks of fish, and you can see we're pulling in some new crystals here. But overall, I was able to get 15.25 stacks of prismarine crystals and just over 30 stacks of shards. So this farm can pull in the goods. It just takes a little bit more time. It's able to get to level 30 in about 9.5 minutes, or just over 9 minutes, we'll say that. And then after an hour, I was level 62. So you're going to be pulling in some decent XP for this farm. Some other recommendations I would have is to bulk this up, put more blocks on the sides, because Guardians do like to jump and they can glitch through pretty much anything. So sometimes they will jump through. And even when you're turning on your trident killer, they can get pushed right through a wall, and so you'll have to go kill them. So just be wary of that. But overall, this one's a decent one, and this one only had about 1,200 blocks. So the blocks to loot ratio for this one, so we pulled in just under 4,000 items in this farm in 1 hour. So we're looking at 0.31 for block to loot ratio. So it's a little high compared to some of our other farms. So looking at a couple things. So XP, yep, you're able to collect XP on this one, so you're definitely utilizing the full yield of the Guardians, because they do give out a lot of XP compared to other monsters. Loot wise, 8 out of 10. That's pretty good. I like that. It's good for just a single spawn point. The block to loot ratio is 7 out of 10. It's a little bit lower than some of the other ones, but overall average, we got an 8.33 for this farm. So thank you, JCPlays, for making this farm. Okay, here is our next one. This one is by TheAlienDoctor, and not a lot of people know him. And this farm didn't get a whole lot of views, but it actually performs really well. In this case, we're only using 1 spawn location, and it's just down here. And you can see we're using trapdoors. It's getting a little loud. Trapdoor trident killers, and this is the one reason why I don't really enjoy this farm, is because you have to reset these tridents every single time you leave the area, and sometimes they just fall through. Sometimes they stay where they need to. But you can see we've got 1 spawn location. Gives these Guardians a chance to move around a little bit. And they fall into, you can barely see them, but there's some minecarts down here, which sets them up for a good kill. All the loot travels up to the top here. So what makes this farm a little bit more efficient is that you're killing the Guardians almost as soon as they come into play. And you can take all the time you need in the world to get your loot into a storage system and to you. So there's a little bit more going on as far as blocks, but you're pulling in more goodies. So after 7 minutes, I was able to get from 0 to level 30, which is a step up here. Crystals, I was able to pull in about almost 18 stacks of crystals on this one. Let's see, where are they? Yeah, and almost 18 right there. Shards wise, we're almost to 32 on shards, and then fish wise, we're just under 15. So we are pulling in more loot than the JCPlays one. There are a few more blocks, but I think that offsets it enough. So we got a ratio of block overall total, we had over 4,000 items in this farm in 1 hour. So that's definitely a step up for a single spawn location. And the number of blocks is just under 1,000. But when we look at it, the block to loot ratio, it's still, because we're pulling in more loot, we're getting a better score here, 0.22. So overall XP, we can collect the XP, which is again a big deal in this review. That's a 10 out of 10 loot wise. We're stepping it up. We got 9 out of 10 there. Block to loot ratio, we're pulling in the 8 out of 10 because it's a little bit better than the last farm. So overall, we're at 9 out of 10 for this farm. I like it. The only drawback is that the tridents, you have to get reset. But the last one as well, if there's a drawback on JCPlays, it's sometimes those guardians will jump out. This one, I haven't seen any of them jump out. So there's definitely trade-offs. This one's pretty neat. I enjoy this one. So thank you, TheAlienDoctor, for making this farm. Okay, moving into our third farm, and I was actually really impressed by this farm. This one is by ModStop, very entertaining content creator. I enjoyed taking a look at all of his stuff. But this one is going to be using 2 spawn locations, and the gist here is that they spawn in automatically. They get moved over with the water stream into a trident killer, and yeah, you got 2 of them moving in, so they just kind of make their way in. You can see that we're pulling in loot down here in the water, and one of the drawbacks for this farm is that the only time you can collect XP is if you come down here, and after 5 minutes, I mean, you're going to get 26 levels. That's kind of the big trade-off here. But as far as loot goes, now remember, we're stepping up in the number of spawn locations, so you have a better chance of getting more loot. So we're now up to 21.75 stacks of crystals, and as far as the shards go, let's see, there are the crystals, and the shards go, we were pulling in close to 50 stacks. It's just over 48 stacks. And then we have a bunch of fish. We're getting more and more fish, 25 stacks of fish right here. So we're looking pretty good. This farm is incredibly simple. I mean, make sure you read the comments. You got to put some extra blocks on the sides here to make sure that your guardians stay where they need to stay. But the rest of it's pretty straightforward. And if you don't care too much about the XP, yeah, it should work out just fine. Just remember that if you are AFKing for a long period of time, the XP buildup will be significant. As far as XP, I got to get a 5 out of 10. You can still jump down, get a significant amount of XP after 5 minutes, but you are manually moving down, so you're not utilizing the full AFK possibilities in the game that I prefer to have. Looting, as far as the loot goes, yeah, we're pulling in over 6,000 items now, so we're at 10 out of 10 for that. It's looking good already. And then from a block to loot ratio, we're a 9 out of 10. So we're looking pretty good there. Yeah, thank you, ModStop, for making this one. I'd give this one an 8 out of 10. All right, this next one is a double spawn location, and it's by me, Stoic Epoch. Yeah. We're utilizing minecarts to get from one spawn location to the next. We're moving our guardians a little bit faster into a kill chamber, and right now they're being a little stubborn only because we're not in the AFK position. But you can see those that came all the way up just shot right into this trident killer, and this other one is getting shot right into the trident killer as well. So we are killing these things fast. And yeah, for this one, we're just, like I mentioned, 2 spawn locations, trident killer with some minecarts to move things along. At this point in the game, you're probably already have enough iron, so it's no big deal at all. But yeah, let's talk about some rates. So when we go AFK right up here, I can get from level 0 to 30 in 5 minutes and 30 seconds. So 5 minutes of getting this farm moving is pretty good. And let's see here, as far as loot goes, 25 stacks of crystals, and we have 25 stacks of fish. We're just loading up on fish, and then over 50 stacks of shards. So we're performing pretty well here. We're also collecting all that good XP, because that's what we want. You can see those guardians just moving right over. And yeah, this one works out. So I hope you like this one. I gave this one got a 10 out of 10 for XP, because we are collecting all this great XP from these big guardians. Loot wise, 10 out of 10 for the number of spawn points we've got, and then block to loot ratio, it's a 9 out of 10. So overall we got 9.66 for this farm, which rates pretty darn good. All right, moving on to number 5, which uses 4 spawn locations. We have Hex Gaming to thank for this farm. And yeah, you can see that we've got 4 locations. They're going to bubble column up just a little bit and then spill into a pool, which leads them directly into a trident killer. This one is very straightforward, and you can see that it does take a little bit of time for these guardians to get killed, and I think it's because they're able to jump around a little bit more than they need to. So let's see here. We're going to turn this back on, see what happens. So let's talk some stats here. This is not an XP farm, so you are not going to be pulling in the XP only when you jump down there. So if you jump down every 5 minutes, you'll pull in the equivalent of 0 to 26 levels, and then you'll have to come back up here to go AFK once more. But you can see they're just clamoring to get in there, which is actually a really cool sight. As far as loot goes, I was only able to get just over 7 stacks of crystals and 15 stacks of shards and just under 6 stacks of fish. So we are not pulling in a whole lot here, and I think it's because we just can't get these guardians to settle down in this portion of the farm, so they're just not cooperating and dying fast enough for us. So you can see one just leapt out of there. But yeah, overall we're pulling in less than 2,000 items for this farm, which honestly is not that great for the work you're putting into it, and you're not getting the XP. So as far as XP goes, 5 out of 10, you can still get 26 levels, just like we talked about. Loot wise, 2 out of 10. We are with 4 locations. That's just not up to snuff with some of these other farms that we've got going on. And then from a block to loot ratio, we have 5 out of 10. So this one utilizes just under 1,300 blocks, so really not too many, but just not getting the loot, so we're putting in more work to get less out of it. So overall, 4 out of 10 for Hex Gaming, but thank you, Hex Gaming, for making this. I love it. I like the idea of it, and it's always fun to watch. All right, here is our 6th one. This one is almost identical to Hex Gaming. This one is by Oink Oink, and you can see we got 4 spawn locations. They're both coming up, and they're getting filtered into a trident killer right here. This one actually performed better, and it's doing some of the things that we talked about, keeping the guardians from jumping out. So this one's actually keeping the guardians down in the trident killer, which helps kill them faster. So this one is a non-XP farm, so you are not going to be getting the XP unless you go down from your AFK position and then walk up to right here, and then you'll start collecting all the XP that's available. Loot-wise, I was able to pull in just over 20 stacks of crystals. You can see some of them are coming in still, and we were able to get just under 20 stacks of fish. And then finally, rounding it out, we've got just over 37 stacks of shards right here. So it pulls in an okay amount. We're just under 5,000 items per hour. So let's talk stats here. We got a 5 out of 10, only because you can't get that XP all the time, so you're missing out on so much of it. Loot-wise, 3 out of 10 for 4 spawn locations. It is just not going to cut it, so 3 out of 10 there. Block to loot ratio, we did step it up based from the Hex Gaming one, so we got a 7 out of 10 there. We're utilizing just about the same number of blocks as Hex Gaming, but this one we are going to have a 5 out of 10 overall. So thanks Oink Oink for making this one. I think this one looks cool, and it definitely has a good vibe. Maybe if you had 4 other ones going at the same time and you had a right AFK position, this could really be a good farm for you. All right, this is the 7th one, and it is a 4 spawn location guardian farm. This is the biggest I'll go in this kind of video, and here it is right here. I'm just kidding, it's down below. This farm lets guardians spawn in 2 locations right here, and then they just drop because there's nothing for them to land in or on or swim in for very long, so they have to go down into our quad kill chamber down here. So you can see that they are just getting chewed up by trident killers in 4 locations, and all of the goodies will drop down in past those panes into our storage location, which is just down here. And it's just an elegant solution. Why send them anywhere other than just down? And they will give you so many goodies. It's insane for the 4 spawn locations. And you're also collecting all of the XP. So let's talk about that. XP wise, I was able to get to level 30 in 2 minutes, which is pretty great, honestly. And then after an hour, I was over a level 100, which I thought was fantastic. I thought it was really good. Now, as far as loot goes, we were able to pull in 54 stacks of crystals, 112 stacks of shards, and over 50 stacks of fish. So we're just pulling in over 14,000 items with these. So this farm is killing it. The number of blocks, we're actually just carving out space we already have. So we've got some columns and a couple trident killers. So we're just digging out. So we're really not having to bring anything or really build anything, just carving out space that we need. So overall, 10 out of 10 for this farm. Is with the XP, 10 out of 10 with the loot. It's just crazy how much loot you're pulling in with these 4 spawn locations, and then the block to loot ratio, 10 out of 10. So you're not having to do a whole lot other than dig, clean out some water, and yeah, this really pays off really quick, honestly. So overall, 10 out of 10 for this farm. So thank you, SlackLizard, for making this one. All right, like I mentioned, 10 out of 10 for SlackLizard. This is the farm I would build, especially if you want a whole bunch of goodies and XP. The XP is just so fantastic now, and you just want to pull all this in. And it's not a whole lot of work to do this. So this is the one I'm recommending to you if you just want to build a small Guardian farm and really capitalize on your gains. So, all right, thanks to all the content creators for making such great things in this world, and hopefully we'll see you again. Hit that subscribe button if you like what you saw. Hit that like button as well. Make some comments, drill up some conversations. Let's talk about these farms. Maybe you've got one that didn't make the list, and I'm going to be making the large Guardian farm review here soon. So if you have a favorite, let me know that as well. But yeah, thanks again. Bye-bye.